Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are going to start with the second SQL injection challenge. I did the first one on the first video, so if you haven't seen that, go and check that out. But without further ado, let's just get into it. So the challenge for this one says, this lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in the login function. To solve the lab, perform a SQL injection attack that logs into the application as the administrator user. Okay, cool. Now, straight off the bat, I think we can see a couple of ways we can do this. So let's open up Burp Suite. I will quickly show you what I think is probably happening in the back end. Let's just click OK to that. So what they're going to have, let's just load up Burp and then we'll get to it. So this is the query that I think they're going to have, or something along this sort of lines in the running and on the login function. So I think it'll be something like select everything from users where username is equal to our username that we input and password is equal to similarly our password. Chances are the password will be hashed, and this will be a limit 1. So you only get the first, the first user that's in the database that matches those two criteria, I guess. So that's what I think we're going to have to do. So again, similar to the last episode where we did the sort of apostrophe or 1 equals 1, I think we can probably do the same thing here. So what we want to do is do or 1 equals 1, and then that will comment out the rest of this query. And that should log in as the first user in the database. So that may not be the administrator. Let's try this, and if we can't do that, then I'll show you something else that you can do, and it'll be very similar. Let's go to my account username, so let's add that to there and just enter anything to that. Oh, so that was it. That was the whole challenge. There's not really much more to say about that. I think, let me just pull this up quickly, pull the text editors back up. So the other thing I was going to say is if, for example, the first user in the account was test or whatever name, John Smith, what you could have done is done administrator apostrophe or 1 equals 1. And that would have done the same sort of thing. You would have had, it would have selected the username administrator or 1 equals 1, which is always true as well. And because you're commenting off the rest of the query, it doesn't actually care about what the password is. So yeah, I think that's that lab solved. Okay, let's just move on to the next one. Let's just do the next challenge. Let's go back to SQL injection. We say all labs. Let's go on to this one. So this one's a bit more complicated. SQL injection union attack, determining the number of columns returned by the query. Fine, that's not a problem. We can use an order by or a union attack to do this. This lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. Again, the same as the first one. The results from the query are returned in the application's response, so you can use a union attack to retrieve data from other tables. Not a problem. The first step of such an attack is to determine the number of columns that are being returned by the query. You will use this technique in subsequent labs to construct the full attack. To solve the lab, you must determine the number of columns returned by the query by performing a SQL injection union attack. Cool, okay. That returns an additional row containing null values. Okay, that's important. So again, it was in here, wasn't it? In this sort of category filter page. In here. I'm just going to do it straight from the browser. I don't think we need to do it in Burp. Refresh that page. Okay. So if we put the apostrophe in there, we get the error. Cool. And then if we do or 1 equals 1, we'll get everything back like we did the first time. That's perfect. That's what we want. We know that that's vulnerable. What we want to do here is do something like order by, in fact, it said union attack, wasn't it? So we'll do the union attack first. So we do union all or union select null. We'll just comment out the rest. So we need to keep iterating or keep incrementing the null values until we get a proper response, and then that is how many columns are being returned. So we'll just grab the null and do comma null. No, so it's not 2. Is it 3? It is 3. So there are 3 columns that are being returned by that data, by that query, sorry. So what would it look like, I guess? So let's select star from categories where category, this is the one that we put in. So it's equal to clothing. Then what we've done, so that's, we put the apostrophe here and we've done union select null, null, null. In fact, we'll do name the category, ID of the category, and price. Okay, then we commented it off. So as you can see here, the select is selecting 3 columns from the categories, and then we are doing a union select, which means it will run the 2 selects sort of at the same time. But as a caveat to that, both of those selected columns have to match, not in value, but in the number of columns that there are. So that's why you do null, null, null. You've got the 3 nulls which match the 3 columns here. Cool, so we've done that challenge anyway. So let's move on to the next one. We'll do one more and then we'll call it quits. All topics, and we've done that one, so we'll go on to this one. SQL injection uses union attack to finding a column containing text. Okay, this lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. The results from this query are returned in the application's response, so you can use a union attack to retrieve data from other tables. To construct such an attack, you first need to determine the number of columns returned by the query, which is what we just did. You can use the technique you've learned in a previous lab. The next step is to identify a column that is compatible with string data. Okay, sure. The lab will provide a random value that you need to make appear within the query results. To perform the lab, you must perform a SQL injection union attack that returns an additional row containing the value provided. This technique helps you determine which columns are compatible with string data. Okay. Again, I'm just going to do it in the browser. I don't think there's any need to load up Burp for this. It's going to be in here again, isn't it? So again, let's just test it. And if we do put the apostrophe there, we get the internal server error. If we do the all 1 equals 1, we should get them all back. Awesome. Right. So again, if we do union select 1, 2, 3. Okay, was it not? Okay, I guess the values have changed. Or do we maybe have to use null values? Oh God. Okay, let's try null values. Null. Right, and comment off. But no, so then we try another null. And we keep doing this until we find something that's... So it is 3, it just had to be null values. Sometimes you can use 1, 2, and 3, and that actually allows you to determine which sort of column may be visible on the page. Because sometimes not all columns are visible on the page. Like I said in the last example, you might have an ID that's never used, but you might have price, which you can clearly see here. Anyway, so we need to... What was the challenge? Let's just... make the database retrieve the string. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what it's asking. Does it just want me to select that? Okay, it literally does just want me to do that, I think. I feel like maybe I wasn't supposed to do that. Let me check the... Let's check the solution quickly, just make sure I did it right. Try replacing each null value. Oh, I think I just got lucky in the one that I guessed. But that is what it wanted us to do. It just wanted us to put a string there. Should we try this one? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so I just got lucky that it was the second one. I'm not sure why I chose that one, to be honest. So if I put null there, and if we try it in the end here. Yeah, so luckily enough, it was just the second value. So I guess the other ones may be integers or something else. But this is what I was saying about the sort of the 1, 2, and 3. You don't always see the column on the page, and obviously in this case, you see the string value of that on the page. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to call it quits there. We've done 3 more labs. I'm probably going to do 3 per video, especially when they're this sort of short. Maybe as they get a bit more complicated, I'll do a couple less per video. But yeah, if you've learned anything, please like the video. Comment down below if you've sort of learned anything. Tell me if you had a better way of doing this. And subscribe if you haven't already. It'd really help me out. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy.